Karen.
Yes.
There are some guests who need an introduction.
True.
And then there's Suzanne Giesemann.
True.
If you spend any time seriously exploring consciousness, mediumship, or what it actually means to live an awakened life, you already know her work. She's one of the most trusted, respected voices in modern spirituality, not because she tells people what to believe, but because she insists on experience over doctrine. Now, we don't really need to explain who Suzanne Giesemann is. I mean, if someone listening doesn't know her name, they've probably already paused this episode to go Google her. But people hear her talk about consciousness, connection, and meditation all the time, and they assume they're the ones that are doing it wrong, right?
Yep.
They're sitting, they're breathing, they're emptying their minds like spiritual overachievers, and yet nothing.
I wish I could make that cricket sound.
Well, that's why, Karen, this conversation matters. What if the problem isn't that nothing's happening, but that you're clearing the room right when someone's going to knock on that door? What if you're clearing the room right when the world's most famous knows this stuff person would tell you to stay?
Then there's a problem.
Well, that's what this conversation is. It's not hype. It's not mystery. It's just Suzanne calmly pointing out that emptiness isn't the goal every time, and that curiosity beats effort. If you're frustrated because you're doing what you were told and still looping, what if trying harder is the wrong instruction? And what if one grounded reframe changes how you experience meditation entirely?
That's a lot of questions.
It's a lot of questions, and Suzanne has a lot of answers.
Yay.
That is the conversation today with the one and only Suzanne Giesemann on this week's episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians. My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything.
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Hey there, I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And today's guest is a former U.S. Navy commander who didn't abandon logic on her spiritual path. She brought it with her. And what makes her extraordinary isn't just what she knows. It's how rigorously she questions it, tests it, and teaches others to do the same. She doesn't lead with fear. She doesn't sell certainty. She leads by modeling clarity, discipline, and deep personal responsibility. And honestly, we're just grateful. Grateful for her time, grateful for her steadiness, and grateful that someone with her depth and integrity is willing to sit down with us and with you for a real conversation. Hey there, Suzanne Giesemann. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I get to talk about my favorite subjects, so yay.
Really?
We do too.
All right. Well, I'm pretty sure that almost everyone who is listening to the show right now is familiar with who you are and your story, but there are always some people that are tuning in for the first time. And so for their benefit, would you mind just giving us a little taste of how you got mixed up into all this? Because you don't come from a traditional place where people would think you become a medium from.
Right. First of all, starting with my family, no religious background, no spiritual background. Nobody saw spirits. I never saw spirits, never even any talk about the afterlife was quickly squashed because my parents were sure the big curtain came down and that was it. And so I didn't even dive into that. Then I joined the military because my older brother had a career in the Air Force, and I thought that looks really great. So I joined the Navy. And spent 20 years as a naval officer, rose to the rank of commander, had command of a shore unit. I was in the Navy when most women were not allowed on ships. So I always served ashore. But I had some really great tours, taught at the Naval Academy, just 9 different assignments. The most exciting one was when the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff asked me to be his aide de camp. That meant got to fly on Air Force One with the president, sat in on top secret hearings on Capitol Hill. I mean, really serving at the highest level of the U.S. military.
Wow.
So very exciting, but very left-brain career and pretty rigid too. But I know now that I must have been rather intuitive because I got that job as the aide because I was really good at seeing what he needed. But was that really just using my left brain to stay out of trouble? I'm not sure. But I didn't question life until 9/11 when I was in the last aircraft in U.S. airspace and came back to our burning office building, the Pentagon, staring at that gaping hole and thinking, these were my colleagues who are now what? I mean, one minute here, 1 minute where? Gone. So I started asking the deep questions then, but I didn't have a way of getting answers. I didn't find any satisfactory answers. And so I set that aside. And the day I had 20 years in the Navy, I retired with my husband so we could go live our dreams, having seen what happened to people who were my friends and killed on 9/11. Mm-hmm. So I realize now that each one of us comes here for an opportunity for our souls to shine. And mine was not fully shining. I mean, I was friendly and loving, but I didn't really understand the depths of our connectedness with everybody. Mm. And I was caught up in my own story, just like most people are. Mm-hmm. Right. And so sailing across the Atlantic Ocean, sailing around the Mediterranean on a sailboat, that was how I escaped from the world until my stepdaughter was struck and killed by lightning. Yeah, she was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, just crossing the flight line. A bolt literally out of the blue sky killed her and her unborn baby, our only grandchild.
Oh, jeez.
And so now I'm back to asking these deep questions again, but this time it was really personal. Mm-hmm. And the big transition for me was seeing her body at the viewing at her funeral and just suddenly having an epiphany that there's a part of us that can't be killed. I knew that Susan had to still exist in some form. And by some coincidence, I'm using air quotes here, I'd been led to a book about mediums 6 weeks before Susan passed. And I read it, and some of the things I read just sounded silly and fanciful, and I hid the book so my husband wouldn't see what I was reading.
Well, I was
now he's married to a medium. It's just ridiculous the sense of humor the universe has.
But I would expect, especially because of the world you came from, is very pragmatic. Because even in the word, it's more, gosh,
everything like regimented and just
regimented.
Yeah. So you weren't really. I mean, you wouldn't think someone in your place would have a way to wrap your mind around something like this.
I didn't. I remember on 9/11 going to the chaplain's office and picking up books, little pamphlets that they had laying around. And that just did not provide the answers that I needed because it was a deeper longing from the soul than what dogma would just teach us by culture. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
jeez.
Oh my gosh.
So then after the viewing of your daughter, did something just like, how did you dot the I's or
from A to B?
Right.
This story is told beautifully in a documentary that was produced last year that gives real proof of the afterlife. If you're skeptical metaphysicians, you would love Wolf's message. It's proof. I can use that word, proof, that we're souls. But I tell the long story there. The short story is I began meditating that week when Susan died. This was 2006 when meditation was not as common as it is now, and it's still not common enough because it will change your life if you just spend a few minutes a day sitting in stillness. But I sat not realizing I was training myself for mediumship because I held a single pointed focus. Susan, show yourself to me. With my eyes closed, I would sit, and that required me to watch how my mind worked. I didn't realize I was training myself in focus, concentration, and quieting the mind. And Susan held back for 3 years on purpose, she later told me from the spirit world, because I had so much to learn. If she had come through right away, it would have been mission accomplished. Great. Here's Susan, got her. Now what's next in my life? Mm-hmm. But instead, I was not going to stop daily meditation till I connected with her. So in the meantime, my intuition came back online because that's what happens when you meditate. Mm-hmm. And then I also took my husband to a medium. He didn't even know what one was. I'd read this book. So I said, well, let's see if it's true. So we went to a medium without giving her our name so she couldn't Google us and find out about Susan. And she left both of us in tears with the evidence that Susan was right here.
Wow.
My husband was a destroyer captain, Navy captain. He is not gullible. And there was no denying she was right there.
That's incredible, and it kind of going back to about being in the military and talking about kind of making that leap and doing the meditation. It's interesting because sometimes you have to have that sort of military-like discipline to make yourself meditate all the time. So even though you might think it might be a hindrance to getting to this more spiritual place, I think it actually probably helped you to really do that focus.
Yeah, because until then, my number one priority every day in the military, we call physical fitness PT, not physical therapy,
sure.
Physical training. And every day it was got a PT every day. So even after I retired, I'm still that way, 7 days a week. But meditation became the new priority one. So now I had two priorities every day. And so it definitely was discipline. But I tell those who say, but I don't have any discipline, then the better word is commitment.
Right.
Because when you know in your heart that your loved one who you just so long to connect with still is here, because it's something nobody can tell you otherwise about. When you know, then don't worry about discipline. That longing, that knowing, that leads to commitment, and it works.
Wow.
And when you said you knew that she was there, and that you both left this session crying, was it a feeling or was it like actual proof? She said something, and you're like, oh my gosh, only you would know that? Or
that's it. It's the latter, because it took me several years to get to the point where I would feel the presence of spirit. And even when Susan came in the first time, I knew it was her more by the sound of her voice and the feel of her personality than seeing her. But the medium gave us piece after piece of evidence that she couldn't possibly have known. There's a young woman who passed suddenly in her 20s. She's wearing a brown uniform. She was a Marine. She was calling my husband Ty daddy. But the biggest clincher was when she said, that one other thing. She said, I have this tingly electrical feeling running up and down my body. And she died suddenly. And I have the headache of Zeus and Athena. Zeus is the god of lightning,
Right.
and the tingly lightning strike. But the biggest one was when she said, wait, there's somebody else here. She's bringing with her a little baby boy she wants to introduce to you.
Wow.
oh my gosh.
And
That made me cry.
Susan was pregnant with a boy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy
We were just sobbing because
yeah.
you can't make that up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There was more, but those are the biggest wows.
So selfishly, I've got to ask a question, because I have been meditating every day for a very long time, and nothing has ever struck me as strongly as this has struck you. So I must be doing it wrong.
Oh, nice assumption, but wrong.
But because my meditations are, so I'm, full disclosure, I'm a Gemini. I get bored very easily. And so if I stick with one particular thing too often, I lose interest in it. So some days will, do mindfulness meditation. Other ones will be focused meditations. Others will be journeys. Should it always just be focused meditations for this?
There's no should, but what's most helpful is a very clear intention each time. And so I'm glad you're doing journeys, because those can be fascinating and revelatory. My goal has usually been to connect with some being that can share with me insights and information I don't know that will serve me and the greater good. So that greater motive is very helpful as well, right?
Right.
It's not just to puff up your ego. Oh, wow, I connected with Albert Einstein. It's going to be,
Right.
it's going to provide something of value that furthers your awareness of who we all really are as souls.
Okay. So my goal has always been to empty the vessel, right? It's been, Sherry Flake said that meditation is not about not thinking about anything, but rather just thinking about one thing constantly.
And you've probably done that, and you have experienced a few blissful moments of just emptiness.
Yes.
But that emptiness, that pure awareness, now has so much potential. Let it arise as some awesome experience. So no wonder you're not having experiences. You want to be empty. I say, fill it up, bring it on. Right?
All right. So
That makes a lot of sense. I like that.
I mean, it does, but it goes contrary to everything that I've learned in terms of how to do meditation. So
See, and this is what we talk about. So we've been doing this podcast together for years. We're married. We've been together for a very long time, and everyone thinks that we think the same, but we actually don't at all.
You're good.
and I know, right? But I think everyone's, you can read the books and do all that, which are wonderful, wonderful tools, but everyone is going to have that very different experience.
True.
So you can't necessarily say only what works for one person is going to work for someone else.
Okay. So then I am now empty, and now I'm asking universe to fill me up.
Yeah.
Is there a specific way to do that, or do I just see what happens?
I have a method I call the 7 steps to connecting with higher consciousness. And the 7 steps form the acronym BLESS ME. And it's breathing deeply, lifting your vibration, expanding your energy field, surrendering the identification that you are this person with a name. And then the shift is basically not shifting higher, not shifting outside your body. That's the second S in BLESS ME. But shifting to, I call source joy. Shift to joy. And that is the emptiness. Now, joy can show up in its limitless manifestations. So the next stage is M, merge. Merge with one of those manifestations in awareness as awareness. So you sit here and you can actually say, okay, whoever wants to come to me now because it's going to provide me some learning, come now. And now you go back to emptiness. And the final letter E is experience. And now you sit empty, but you've invited someone in. So for this session, you're going to listen, look, and notice what stands out from the emptiness. It's all awareness.
Yep, I've been definitely doing it wrong.
No, it's not wrong. You're probably far more peaceful and intuitive than most of the people you know. So you haven't done anything wrong. You're just now going to shift your focus and have what I call more adventures in consciousness.
Oh, I like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think also not necessarily having the expectations, because if not you, but a lot of people expect to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of, my thing is just like, surprise me, let me know you're there, but surprise me.
Yeah. I do a podcast every Sunday, and then I have a short video every Wednesday. And last week was some of the things that get in the way. And one of them is assumptions. And that's all on my YouTube channel, but assumptions such as you're going to have bells and whistles now every time. It's not going to happen, Will. So it's okay when nothing happens, but buckle your seatbelt, because there will be sometimes. But we don't always know how that will show up.
Well, it's funny because I think there's a very specific reason why I am experiencing what I'm experiencing. Basically, when we first started this, I was all about the bells and whistles. I want to astral project. I want to talk to the dead. I want to, all that, right? I want all the toys.
Yeah.
So I had to actually come to center to the point where I can let go of all that and just be, and then allow it to open up to let whatever comes through. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And that is the normal path. So you're not doing anything wrong. You're actually at that beautiful stage now. And I know that joy in its various manifestations holds back until just the right time. So as you learn to trust, you say, well, if nothing's happening, then we're just in this fallow period of germination. And I can't wait to see what happens, but I'll be patient. I trust.
Right. I'm at the point where it's not so much trust, but rather, okay, whatever. Right. I'm surrendered to nothing's going to happen. And that's fine. I'm enjoying the bliss, and I'm in it. I see a tremendous, wonderful change in me, and I'm enjoying who I am these days because of this. If something's meant to now, I'll be more intentional in where.
Please, because you just gave away a big key right there. I'm surrendered to nothing's going to happen. See that underlying BS? That stands for belief system. Belief system. What do you think? and so if that's your underlying belief, well, it's just emptiness. I'm surrendered. Nothing's going to happen. You're creating that. You're co-creating that. So now do what Karen said and just be curious and say, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I can't wait to just watch it unfold.
And I think sometimes you think that things aren't happening, but we got to see the peace monks.
We did.
Oh,
we
And
did.
that was amazing.
Well,
that
you-
was the most
yeah,
amazing thing.
You did, but
Well,
yeah,
I know.
I saw them from a
I know.
distance.
Yeah,
But
I
no,
saw them from a
just being close to them was good enough for me. I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
And just little things that we wouldn't, we didn't even expect that to happen. There's this winter storm coming. There's no way. We're like, let's get in the car, get the kid, get the dog, because we can get a dog watcher and let's just drive out to,
Yep.
a couple hours and just find a hotel and, but all of those things.
Two of my dear friends just did that 3 days ago.
It was just amazing. It was amazing.
3 days ago,
Overwhelming.
that's where we were. It was 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. At the same time, because they were freezing.
Yeah, it was we were in the same. We were probably sitting next to each other.
Probably. Very possibly.
Karen put chalk drawings on the road. Did you see chalk drawings?
I don't think we did.
We saw flower petals.
And snow.
Yeah, lots of snow.
Lots of snow.
Yeah. All right. Sorry to have gone down that little detour, but I thought it was interesting. So now that you open yourself and you got undefinable proof that this is true, that this is real, you're connected to your daughter. How did you deepen that connection and transition into a broader mediumship?
Well, after that reading with the medium, I just knew I had to share with the world this is credible, that there are credible mediums out here and that evidence will change your life, not just, oh, your grandmother's here and loves you very much. So I found a credible medium, Anne Gaiman, and she agreed to let me write her biography. That became my first Hay House book, The Priest and the Medium. And then I met her next door neighbor at Lilydale in New York, where a medium community. Mm-hmm. And that was Janet No Havoc. And she asked me to write her biography. She was a wonderful medium. She crossed the veil about 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so in writing her book, I needed to study how she worked, and she taught mediumship. So I sat in the back of her classroom watching and thinking, wow, you can teach this? There are systems. Can you imagine how my military brain loved that?
Yes.
You mean you can say every time you sit to do a reading, I want you to tell me how you passed, how old you were, what kind of work you did, and all these things, a list, and they'll give it to you? Well, I could trust that then.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there just to write her book, and she points at me in the back of the room and says, Suzanne, there's a spirit here. Come up here and tell us what you sense. I could have killed her. I had no idea I had these abilities, but she did. Janet did. And we reenacted this scene in my documentary, Messages of Hope, which is on YouTube and Amazon Prime. And I just stood there and closed my eyes, and I did not feel any spirit. To this day, I do very clearly, but at that time, nothing. But I sensed a man in his 70s who was an engineer and passed from cancer. All the things from the list. And I'm thinking, I'm pulling data out of the air. This is just stupid. I thought this is ridiculous. This is not real. And this woman in the classroom raised her hand and said, that's my dad. He was 70, an engineer, died of cancer. And I thought, I'm trying to do the math. What are the chances of that? What are the statistics? Meanwhile, here's Janet saying, yeah, that feels right. And he's showing me his birthday was March 31st or whatever date she said. It was the right date. And the girl goes, yeah. And I'm looking at Janet saying, you mean there really is somebody here? You mean I got that from a spirit? And Janet pushed me 2 more times. Get some more, Suzanne, get some more. All I wanted to do was sit down, but she's pushing me. And that Navy training, well, I'm not going to say I can't do it, right? So I just stood there, shut my eyes. And the biggest life-changing moment for me was when I said, I see a pair of black patent leather shoes, and I hear the name Twinkle Toes. And his daughter said, my dad was a ballroom dancer and wore patent leather shoes, and my mom always called him Twinkle Toes.
Get out of town,
Oh
Suzanne.
my gosh.
That's
And I remember,
Wow.
that's one piece of evidence. I could now fill 48 hours of interview with wows.
yeah.
Because the spirit world knows I'm not going to do this work unless they give me wows. Almost every reading, I got to get wows. If I don't, I call off the reading. But you can train yourself to do that. But that was a moment for me where I said, you mean I could bring the kind of life-changing comfort, healing, and growth to others like that medium did for our family? I could do this too. And from that moment on, my life has never been the same because it's been my passion, and ask my husband, my obsession. How much more clear can we make this connection? So the meditation continued. I had not even connected with Susan yet at that point. But when I found out I could do it too, I continued that as my daily practice, but made the acquaintance of guides and beings that I used to just totally dismiss as fanciful. But I required evidence and I would get it. So it just opened up so much for me. But my main focus now is I don't want to be pigeonholed as a medium. To me, mediumship has been a fabulous path to self-realization, to coming to know who we are. So my main goal is to teach people to live what I call the awakened way. It's basically based on 3 principles that we're not only human, like the songs say. Like the excuses we make. Well, I'm only human. No, you're not. You're this soul that has access to information and love and peace. Wow. Things we don't think we could possibly access. And then number 2, we're part of this amazing interconnected web on both sides of the veil, physical and non-physical. And what does that mean for you? How would that change your life if that were true? And then the third one is that where there's no separation, that's love. So because we're part of this web, love is what guides us. Love is our source. Love is why we're here. And if we're not expressing it, that's why your life is not flowing.
You are so speaking Karen's language right now.
Oh my God.
Like word for word.
Absolutely. And I would say one of the things that I harp on a lot is so many people have certain expectations of what love is. And it's so much more than a romance or a mother-daughter or like any of those relationships. It's everything. It's so much more than that. And I think that's what people need to understand, because when they don't have that one relationship, they feel like they don't have love in their life. And there's plenty of other ways to experience it.
Oh, yes. Yeah. When people are grieving a loved one, they go inside, they shut themselves off. And I say the best way to heal is to go serve somebody some way, or an animal. Get out in nature, because that's love, connecting with something outside of yourself through what's inside you.
Right.
Love.
Yes.
It's so interesting that we're talking. Yeah, I mean, the universe works in such beautiful ways. We just talked about going to see the monks 3 days ago. One thing we didn't mention, sorry, Karen, I'm mounting you here, but as soon as they passed, we got back in the car and we were starting to drive away, and she opened up, just sobbing from the sheer joy and love that she experienced from just having that. It was 12 seconds with a monk that just opened up her heart so completely.
That's it.
And even the whole walk, everything that they did, the 2,300-mile trek that they're doing with barefoot across the country in the name of peace and love. If you hear them talking, their talks are all about mindfulness and love. And so just something that simple as the interaction with a monk shows you what love actually, the power that love has. So,
and that's why mediumship is such a beautiful path to that awareness, because you can't get information that you don't know without questioning, how is that possible? That one question is what led me down this whole path to self-realization, because you can't explain with only the physical senses how you can know and feel things from somebody who has died.
It's so funny because in the intro to our show, we talk about how I've always needed something to, like the proof. I need to touch, to feel it, to understand this is more than this 3-dimensional world that we live in. And all this time, I'm getting things here and there a little bit, but to get the information that you got that was so completely undeniable, that's the things that are still just fleeting for me, that I haven't received yet, right? I know what Karen's going to say.
The key to this is that was 2009 or 8, end of 2008. Susan passed in 2006. I had been sitting in stillness daily, every day, for hundreds of days by that point, saying, Susan, show yourself to me, and listening. So when Janet said there's a spirit here, I could immediately find that emptiness we were speaking of. And it was filled with twinkle toes and cancer and engineer. It just boom, it's in awareness because of that training the mind to instantly be quiet. You can't keep it quiet, but all spirit needs is this little gaps to insert themselves.
Oh, okay. And so here comes the other side of the coin, the other will thinking. We've all been programmed so completely to fear that if we open our vessel, something maybe not quite so wonderful might fill it. Do you ever have that thought?
Well, I'm fortunate in that I was not programmed that way. So I had no formal religion with scary stuff put in my mind. And my parents never talked about these things. And certainly I'd heard about evil spirits and you have to be careful and don't play with the Ouija boards and all of those things. But that's just people talking. I was willing to put up with anything to connect with Susan myself.
Right.
So I went at it with no fear, but I never even thought of anything scary coming. And what I experienced in that stillness was that expansiveness, connectedness, and light that left me sobbing. I mean, you want to wow, that's the wow, to just be crying for no reason other than your soul is now saying, thank you for giving enough time that you now feel who you really are. Nice. And so I came to know I am the light of awareness. I am the light. All of us are. And when you hold that awareness, there's no room for darkness.
That's a great.
I had one scary experience less than a year ago. I was fully awake lying in bed in the dark. I know I was not dreaming and sensed these creatures with talons coming at my throat. Scared the Jesus out of me. And I said to my guides immediately, silently, what is going on here? And they said, it's a test. Just love them. And I said, okay. And as silly as it sounded, I said, I know that nothing can hurt me. I love you. And it was like the Wizard of Oz where the witch just dissolved. It was just completely dissolved. And that's what our fears are. Thought forms that will dissolve in the face of true light.
Right.
Well, yeah, because light is so much more powerful than dark, because you can have a dark room and you light a candle and you see the light. If you have a bright room and you can't really bring in a little candle's worth of darkness, it's not going to take the light away from the room.
That's it. I mean, these are all statements, but they're absolutely true. Yeah. And it's the personal experience of that will convince everybody listening.
Yeah, that's the trick, is getting that personal experience. Because we've talked to people in this space for over 4 years now. And I mean, not that we doubt it at all, but it's always like I'm always searching for that thing. And I feel like I've gotten glimpses of it, but.
Well, I think also you have to have that awareness, again, of the expectations is not necessarily, you're not going to see how you're expecting to. Like the coffee thing just the other day. Right. So I've been, I had an illness that I dealt with recently, and, sometimes you feel alone, and it's like, all right, universe, I thought you had my back, when I need some help, what's going on? And so little things are starting to happen like all the time. And the most in my face one was just yesterday morning. I was getting some coffee and I was out of milk, and I'm like, oh, I think I have like somewhere in the pantry a thing of coffee, the coffee creamer, the instant whatever stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, so I'm walking back through our little hallway to the pantry, and there in the middle of the floor is the coffee stuff.
My jaw's on the floor. But, I mean, I hear these stories all the time, but I love them. Yeah. I love them. This is how the universe enjoys being itself, by reprising itself like that.
Yeah. And it's like, see, we got your back. Maybe not how you expected. You might not notice it, but we got your back.
Well, at the very end of the day, these conversations alone, like having a conversation with you, Suzanne, for example, it's amazing to have someone that is such a renowned spiritual leader as you on the show, because every conversation that we have with folks like you helps me to bring that forward a little bit further. And those that are listening or watching, same thing. So first, thank you very much for reminding us of that. But curious, now that you have your feet are very firmly on this side of the world, for lack of better terms, when we're talking about the military versus the spiritual, you don't usually bring military and spiritual, those two worlds, together very often.
I wish we would.
Yeah, I wish you would. Absolutely. Yeah. So your life in the military now, it must feel like a dream or something. Like it's such a different.
Different. When I hear people reading my biography, I just say, wow, that was a different world. Very, very proud of my time in the military. Unfortunately, it's a necessary system right now because there are a lot of unawakened people all over the world.
Yes.
And yet it is so totally different right now. I love my freedom, freedom to think. I mean, we always have the freedom of speech and all that, but just the freedom to be completely myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also the connection, right? Amongst everybody, we talk about the fact that we're all connected, that we're all one, or that we're all part of something bigger. I don't know that the military.
Oh, I'll correct that misconception.
Okay.
I have never known a greater feeling of camaraderie than when I was in the military. The shared sense of mission and the way they support each other like family. That was so sorely missing when I retired. It was stunning. You're on your own now. Wow. No, this instant bonding with your colleagues. So they have a oneness. And you just reminded me that the U.S. Army's motto is an army of one. And everybody thought that was so silly, but they understand oneness. And the Marines, they train Marines immediately to stop using the pronoun I. You're only allowed to refer to yourself in boot camp as this recruit, so that you think in terms of the unit instead of yourself. They completely help you to, in interesting ways, to get rid of that sense of me and self.
Right.
So really, they're doing some spiritual work, but for different purposes.
Unbeknownst to themselves. Wow.
So then you mentioned the world that we're living in right now, and there's a lot of challenges that every day there's a new challenge you wake up to.
Isn't that true? Yeah.
How can someone who is not even on a spiritual path, we're on a spiritual path, but someone a regular person, how can you get beyond the fear, the challenges that they're running into every day?
It's truly essential to come to know all of us beyond the stories we're acting out right now, beyond the drama. We really cannot find peace until you find the part of you that never changes and the part of you that's the same in everyone else. You're familiar with the phrase namaste. That's in spiritual circles. Honor the place in you that is of love and light. And when we're in that place together, we're one. But that sounds lovely, but you have to experience that and be able to access that so that you can observe the drama and say, yes, and this is a story on top of the peace that's already here. And my sip of the divine, a 3-minute practice, SIP stands for sit in peace, will help you with that, because you really only need 3 minutes a day to sit and notice the mind, and those gaps start getting a little longer. You'll never completely stop them, but you find that peace sitting in peace 3 minutes a day. And there are no excuses from that one, Will and Karen. There's no excuses. You can't say, I don't have the time to meditate, because you can easily spend 5 minutes making and sipping a cup of coffee. So sip the divine. And then you say, well, I can't quiet my mind. That's not the point of the sip of the divine. Watch my video on YouTube, Sip of the Divine. I'll show you how to do it and walk you through it. And it's very simple. If you can do that for 3 weeks, it'll change your life.
See, that is so perfect, especially now in our no attention span culture, and you want to be stimulated by something, and it's hard. It's hard to sit down, especially if you're new to it, and to think of doing nothing and have nothing entertaining you. It's so 3 minutes. I mean, and I think even that might be difficult to some people, 3 minutes as well, but just you got to start somewhere. And I think that's
right. And it might turn into 5 minutes and 7 minutes. We're not going to become hour-long meditators, but sometimes you start to feel that peace. And the fun part about the sip of the divine is once you've watched your thoughts for a few minutes and you're in a nice calm state, you're already in alpha brainwave, which is optimal for connecting across the veil. You can then ask a question, just hoping, what if somebody higher than me is actually going to hear this question? What is it I most need to know right now? And because you're open enough to believe that maybe I'll get an answer, you ask that question, and now you go back to just sitting in peace, and you may start getting answers like a genie in the bottle. But At first you'll say, I'm making this up, and then you'll get information you didn't expect. Then you'll have things happen that validate what you got, and look out, now you're really on the path.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that, the validation, because how many times have we talked about what comes through you, you're not sure. The big question mark is, how can you know that you're not making it up? It's validation, right? You have to get external validation is the only way, right?
That and I have a new course called The Forgotten Center that talks about the hara, the head, the heart, and the hara, the three Eastern philosophies, centers of soul awareness. When you move your awareness and take a question or something that you've heard into the belly and sit there, it has a solidness where you know you can trust this. You know you're not making it up. Whereas if you only remain with your awareness in the head, now you're thinking yourself out of it.
There we go. That's the tool we were missing.
Yeah. And I think like for the experiences that I've had, I haven't, any of the messages that I've gotten aren't anything that you could really verify.
That's true.
So I think this might be a better way for me to understand that I'm not making it up.
Or maybe
fantastic.
I am.
And so
sometimes we are. Yeah. But why is it popping into awareness? Is it helpful? Is it healing?
Yeah.
And I assume the course could be found on your website?
It can be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to add a direct link to your website and your YouTube on our show notes. So if you want to connect, you can do that. I'm not saying goodbye yet. I just want to make sure that I've got it correctly right. So.
And I just was thinking how you've transitioned from someone who is protecting our physical space to now you're helping protect our spiritual space. So thank you for everything that you're doing with that. And both times on both sides.
You made my day. You don't realize it. I just got a haircut an hour ago, and the lady in the chair next to me commented on my hair, and I turned to look at her. She only saw me from the side. I was seeing her from the side, and I had that knowing she knows me. And this does not happen that often. And I said, well, I like your hair too. And she turned her head and she goes, Suzanne. And she knew me from the work. That was so cool. But then, the stylists are there. And I often think, well, what am I going to say when they ask, well, why does she know you? And I've always replied, spiritual teacher. But you said you're a spiritual leader. And that lit me up because that's it. I mean, I used to train Navy officers in leadership and management, and I actually won Humanities Team's Spiritual Leadership Award. So I don't know why I haven't been saying that because, and it's not an ego thing. It's that to me, leadership is inspiring others and motivating them to action. I don't just want to teach you that you can do this too. I want to inspire you to sit in peace and experience it for yourself. I want to motivate you to connect with your own loved one across the veil. So you have just made my day.
Karen, I think this is my last show. I can finally retire because I now have a legacy. From now on, Suzanne Giesemann is going to tell people she's a spiritual leader. And that came from me. Yes. Next time I see her on stage, I'm going to go, ah. All right, no, it's 100%. That's the word that came through very, very clearly for me. Maybe because I knew about your background in the military and your command and things like that. And I've known you as someone who has helped me in the spiritual sense as well. So it makes perfect sense for me.
Yeah, and I look at my path and I see that the media needs a hook, books need a hook, and it's a really amazing hook. I wasn't just a Navy commander. To be the aide to the head of the U.S. military, I recognize that as such a gift because I really, truly hope that people will dive in further on their own path when they hear my story. And they do. So many women come up to me at my events and they say, oh, thank you, because my husband now is more willing to be open to this.
Yes.
Or because they see you with your uniform and they hear your background and they don't immediately dismiss it. Yeah. So I'm grateful for that leadership, for that. Because this will bring so much joy and love and peace and healing and comfort to anyone's life. If you're willing to set aside the story that says, oh, I don't want to look silly, or, oh, that's BS. It's all BS. It's all our belief system. So dig deeper
Yeah.
And you will be just so pleased with what you
I cannot agree with you more. It's so important because more and more people are waking up. But then, for the longest time, this has been like the woo, right? I don't know. These people are kind of kooky and out there and all have green hair and, wear tie-dye shirts and things like that. Right. But this goes so far beyond one stereotype, and to have someone like you from a different place in society as a role model, I'm sure opens up the doors to so many different people. And I can't wait to see what else it takes us, because on top of, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but the leadership thing, you're not just showing the way from the fact that you were in the military, but you're leading the way into the spiritual world aside from the military thing. It's just, I think that's.
Oh yeah. It's with the evidence that's what will change people. The personal experience and the no other explanation moments, NOEs. That's what I call it.
Right.
People have NDEs and it'll change your life, but we can all have NOEs without dying.
Yes, please.
For that. Sounds less painful.
Yeah. Not less complicated, for sure. So is there something that keeps coming out, a message that keeps coming out more and more these days? We're about to talk to some folks about the predictions of 2026, right? You hear about all 2026. It's a rough year and it's going to happen. And
I heard the opposite.
Oh, did you? Oh, well, that's good. See?
No, that's what I'm getting. That this is a wonderful fresh start. The energy is amazing. I'm not into astrology, but I hear that there's some alignments that they haven't seen in thousands of years. Right. And it's an exciting time.
But it just so happens that the last time the alignments were in place, it happened during the Civil War. So that's why people are seeing things in me.
Aren't we already going through that in a sense?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So now we can maybe come together in new ways by not focusing on the fear.
That's it. So that's why I asked you that question earlier, because there's so much rampant fear everywhere around here. But so you're getting the opposite message. Your messages that you're getting is.
And these are anytime you have pain, physical, emotional, spiritual, it's an opportunity. It's a symptom that something's out of alignment. So we go get it fixed, but we can fix ourselves from the inside, find that peace and radiate that. Why did you sob at the monks? Because they're radiating an energy that you felt. Yes. So each one of us, what are you going to radiate? I trust that I can be the presence of peace and make a difference in our world. I trust the universe, that it is benevolent. Or, oh my God, it's going to hell. I can't stand that other person because they think differently than me, blah, blah, blah. It's a choice, moment by moment.
So let's say you run into someone super stubborn, hard-headed, someone who believes that they know that this stuff is real or knows it's not real. How do you approach that person who says, go ahead, sorry.
The same way I did when the guys were coming at me with the talons. Just love them. Yeah. And I absolutely don't try to change anybody's mind. If they ask me to give them an example, I'll give them one of my wows, like your Cremora story, or whatever brand it was. And then if they say, well, that's BS, I say, well, I hope you have your own experience sometime. Yeah. It's changed my life. Right. And then maybe we'll just shift the conversation. But I don't take on skeptics because that's not my place. They're on their own path.
Right.
I think that's part of the love. So much of us think that love is always going to be reciprocal, and it's not necessarily. So you have to be able to be willing to put that love out there and expect nothing in return. And that's when actually you'll start to see things come back in return.
Yeah. And I think thankfully.
And the flip side of that is when you put out love, they don't have anything to hit back against. Right. And it takes all the fight out of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they want resistance. Yeah. And if you're just like, okay, where does that energy go? And they're left defenseless. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Try it.
So any tips for someone who is trying to do that, but yet gets caught up in his or their...
Yeah. Spend your time in stillness, visualizing those encounters, just like a sports star would do. Here comes somebody in my face, and they're going to trigger me like I always do. And now ask Spirit. I got my lip twitch. I love that. Every time I connect with Spirit, just ask Spirit, help me experience now the reaction that will best serve me in those kinds of situations. And you can actually have a journey through that, and that changes your field and becomes a part of you. And the more you focus on that, it will just become your reality, and you won't be triggered anymore.
Oh. And I know this is a personal question, like, I mean, in terms of like, it's different for every person. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to get to the point where you are just so serene about all this that you totally 100% know this is reality and aren't triggered in the way that we...
What's the date? It's an ongoing process. We are all both human, and this is the thing that's really helped me is, I can speak in spiritual terms, but also neuroscience is fascinating to me. And I have several neuroscience colleagues and friends, and I've studied the brain, and we are hardwired to put up a defense, to protect ourselves and our beliefs. So once you start saying, that's the program running, you may still react, but you catch yourself and shift. And so that's a beautiful thing. But this process of growing and learning and shining never ends. Right. But I'm certainly way far beyond what I was even several years ago. I would just run from uncomfortable conversations. Now I still get a little uncomfortable, but I can just sit back and say, oh, I don't want to run anymore. Right. I can just sit here and be okay with this. Let me send love to this situation. Is there any action I could take to bring more peace right now? So it's not just passive, and it's not spiritual bypassing, like I'm not going to feel pain. Ooh, I dropped an F-bomb last night, but it was over something that almost fell over and broke in the house. That would have been a tragedy. And I was with 3 friends who know me as a spiritual leader. And I said, there's a spiritual term for you. Because our body's programmed to, I've tried hypnotherapy to stop those F-bombs from coming out. It's just part of the wiring. So yeah, it's an ongoing process.
Oh, right.
It's spiritual F-bombs.
Somebody heard me talk about my propensity for that. Sailor words, we call them. And she crocheted a little black grenade with a heart coming out of the top of it and a little sign that says drop love bombs, not F-bombs.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
I have it over there.
Oh, that is great.
When we move forward in this space, has there ever been a time where you were worried that humanity wasn't going to get there?
I know that when we get there, it's game over. So, I mean, why be here if we're not here to interact, relate, and learn to love? Once we all learn to love, we will be experiencing heaven on earth, which is the goal. So I've known that all along. I have gone through periods of being frustrated until I say, wait, this is all unfolding right now. So just enjoy the now and do what we can now.
Have you ever gotten any like specific message that really impacted you in a certain way? Not about like doing a reading for someone else, but just did something ever come through? I don't know why this just popped into my head. Maybe it came through. Just some message that just impacted you that you felt like you really needed to make sure it gets out there.
It goes back. I've already shared it, but it was in a different way. And it was so early in this journey. And it was when my beloved husband will celebrate 30 years this year of marriage. We were not seeing eye to eye about something. And I could tell we were never going to on that topic. And we were just like this. And I finally had to just walk away. We didn't come to any consensus. And I had learned by that point to say to Spirit, what do I do? And I heard clear as day, just love him. And it goes back to everything I was just saying about the what we thought were evil spirits and the skeptics. It's the same answer. So I turned around and I went back and I looked at him with a totally open heart instead of the energy of resistance that I was feeling earlier. And I said, honey, we may never see eye to eye on this, but I love you so much. And like the thought forms that were attacking me, it just dissolved the whole issue. Gone in the face of love. If we could just remember that. And so we have in our United States here, Democrats and Republicans who are just at each other's throat, and you don't feel like loving them. So we have to find the place in you that is the same in me and realize we came here to play different roles, to push each other's buttons, to find our way back to loving each other anyway.
Right.
That's what I like. Loving each other anyway. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just invited to a party, and friends said, hey, we're going to have people with differing strong opinions at the dinner table. We need to keep it light. And I thought, okay. And then the reason we're all going to be around that table is because every one of us will have one thing in common: a child across the veil.
Oh, wow.
You see?
Yeah.
You see, there are certain things that are more important than your beliefs about this and this and this. And those kinds of relationships are the deepest ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we get it. We understand what really matters, and it's loving each other.
Yep.
I feel a theme to this episode.
Well,
Oh, so you mean the headline is not going to have me going like this saying chaos is coming?
It is not. I'm sorry. We are not those guys.
oh, no, but I love that because you just don't know anybody's story.
Yes.
You know, it's like the thing from the book of the Dalai Lama, The Art of Happiness. You know, you don't know what someone's going through, so don't judge them when they cut you off in traffic. You know,
I know.
Love them anyway. I want to get that on a T-shirt. Love them anyway. That was perfect. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Did I mention she's a spiritual leader?
I know, and a writer.
Gosh, I wish we had another 15 hours to talk to you. There's so much to touch base on, but really quickly, as a spiritual leader, what do you think? I mean, we talked about the fact that we're here to experience everything, the goods and the bads, the lows and the highs, all that kind of stuff, right? That's all part of it. It's to push each other's buttons in order to experience different levels of awareness and consciousness to expand as a people, as a oneness. So then what actually happens to us when we cross the veil, in your estimation?
I have so many videos about this, so if we're running short on time, just do that search. In fact, let me tell you about an awesome tool we have now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can go to SuzanneGiesemann.com/yourquestionsanswered and ask that question. And everybody's going to get a different answer, but it's my virtual librarian, but she's not going outside to search the internet. It's 15 to 18 years of my guides' channeled information, all of the transcripts of every one of my books and my videos and my classes. She dips into that and gives you a very personal, heartfelt answer.
I love that.
That's Grace, my virtual librarian. And then there's a video search capability on my site. You can enter in what happens in the afterlife, and it'll take you to every video where I've ever brought that up. But to answer your question, it is different for every person, but immediately each soul is aware, I've been a soul all along. Oh my gosh, how could I have forgotten? I feel this love. I can't wait to let my family know I'm still here. You're meeting up with family who passed before you immediately. It truly is joyous. Yeah.
Yeah, I always liken it to the movie. Now I draw a blank. What Dreams May Come. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies on the topic because it shows the vast difference. In my thought process is we create our own afterlife. Whatever we feel is truth for us is what we will create once we cross. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but at least that's my thought process.
It's very close to truth as far as I've gotten from those who've talked to me. Now, we can't validate that.
Sure.
That's not evidence. But when you surround what they tell me with the evidence, then it upholds the things they're telling us. My mother believed in nothing. So when she crossed, I didn't hear from her right away. I actually got to go across the veil and saw her in a kind of a continued unconscious state, just like when before she passed. And she slowly came out of it. And it's like, well, I'm just not ready to wake up yet.
Well, you have, from someone who has always been looking for all these cool tools and toys. You have so many cool tools and toys on your site and on all your programs. I recommend anyone who is just getting to know Suzanne Giesemann to go to SuzanneGiesemann.com to get to know her and just do a YouTube search. You're going to find scads of videos that she's done.
600.
Wow.
Yes. And you have helped me grow tremendously over the last, I don't know how many years. So thank you for that personally, selfishly. Thank you.
And I thank you for that.
I bet. Yeah.
And on the physical side of things, I do thank you for your service because I totally know how difficult that must have been. And for you transitioning over to this spiritual world now, we really
Thank you for your
appreciate you.
service.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure getting to know you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Hopefully this won't be the last time we connect because I just love you so much. And
that would be great. We have a lot of opportunities in person. They're right there at the top of my homepage. So maybe we will see each other in person.
Sounds good. Plan it. I'm going to go to your site right now, as a matter of fact. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that does it for this episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians. Thanks for coming along on this journey beyond the veil. If you're feeling the vibes, help others find us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It makes a huge difference, and we would be so grateful. Until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, but most of all, keep your mind open.